The international break is coming to an end, and this week should be a work week for PSG. So the big question is going to be, when do we get our players back? Players are still playing with their national teams, some of them until pretty late on Tuesday night, even on Wednesday, some of them in the earlier hours. And so it's going to be a big question of when do the players get back to Paris? Can we get them to training in time? And can we get them fit for Ligue game this Friday in Paris against Toulouse? Let's do the overview of what we've got. So first, let's start with some good news. PSG put out some footage of training session on Monday for the 4 players who were injured during this break, and Mayulu and Ruiz, yes, Ruiz, were back in training and back on the pitch with the ball, which generally, what you do right before you get back to training with the rest of the squad. Mayulu injured himself in the Nice game right before the break and was supposed to be out for a week or two. So wouldn't be surprised to see him just pick up training with the rest of the squad when they get back. Ruiz, obviously, it's been a long journey. It's been said by the clubs that he should be back after the break, but given the fact that we never had really a lot of details on his injury and how it was progressing and the kind of length of indisponibility, we'll have to see. We'll have to see if he starts training with the squad again, if it takes a few more days, and what kind of physical condition he's in, and how quickly he can get back to match fitness. The other 2 players who were injured, Quentin N'Jentu and Bradley Barcola, both of them were training. Both of them were training indoors, and so mostly doing fitness work in the gym. Both of them looking all right and looking good with it, but obviously it looks like both of them might be a bit further out from coming back. Barcola is really the one that we're most interested in, let's be honest. Supposedly he's not going to be available for the first game against Liverpool, which is in about a week's time now. It's going to be Wednesday next week. And he could maybe be back for the return game a week after that. So we'll have to keep track. I've heard a lot of chatter online and in the media, and even I share into it, saying bordering on the conspiracy theory and saying maybe PSG made it look worse than it is, and maybe he's going to be back in time. We'll see. Not usually the way of doing things in PSG, so don't really count on it, but I'm crossing every finger I've got that Barcola comes back as quickly as possible. So those 4 guys, anyways, there was training on Monday, training on Tuesday, so today, as I record this. Question mark for 5 players on whether they're going to be back from international duty. That's the 4 who were with the French team. Chevalier, Hernandez, Saint-Germain, Doué, and Dembélé, and then Kvicha Kvaratskhelia, who should also be back from playing with Georgia. So that's 5 big players that we get back. I've seen stuff and I've read stuff, and obviously PSG doesn't exactly communicate, so hearsay is kind of the best that we've got. I've seen stuff saying they should be back on training on Wednesday. So for the French squad, not entirely surprising, given that they're traveling back from the US. There might be some jet lag to deal with. It's possible that the club is giving them the Tuesday off. For Kvaratskhelia, I have a hard time believing that, because he was playing in Europe, so it's not as big of a trip. And so wouldn't be surprised to see him at least visit the campus and do a little bit of fitness and check in with the coaches. We'll have to see though. Then, after those players, the next one in line will be João Fernandes. João Fernandes is playing this afternoon around 2 p.m. local time in Croatia. And so he could be back in Paris as early as tonight, Tuesday night, and back in training on Wednesday. He's playing with the Spanish, I think, U19, I want to say. And yeah, playing U18. So playing against Bulgaria U18 this Tuesday at 2:45 local time. He played the whole game, the whole first game of the U18. So he's typically among the starters for this team. Hopefully, I'll be rooting for him, like not playing the full 90 minutes, but it's feeling pretty likely that he would. And so we'll have to see, when he gets back and what condition he gets back. Also today, Matvei Safonov is playing against Mali with the Russian team in St. Petersburg at 7 p.m. local time. So same thing. He could be back in Paris, like conceivably late on Tuesday, early on Wednesday. So not impossible that we see him back in the campus as early as tomorrow. Bit of a question mark for this one. I think, obviously for a goalkeeper, it's not exactly the same kind of requirements in terms of rest time after a game and so on. So he could be pressed into service. We could see Lucas Chevalier playing against Toulouse. So I think at this point, that's kind of an outside possibility. So we'll have to see when Matvei comes back from his stint with Russia. And then the next one, who's also playing on Tuesday night, Achraf Hakimi with Morocco, is playing against Paraguay. They're playing at 8 p.m. in Lens. So literally a couple hours drives away from Paris. So for him, he can definitely, we can imagine he'll be back in his bed by tonight. I know that PSG has a great relationship with the squad of the Moroccan team, so we can really hope that, given that it's a friendly game, maybe he doesn't play the full 90, maybe he plays only 45 minutes. We'll have to check in and see what happened after the game, but it's been done in the past. They were very grateful that we got the player back into shape in time for AFCON, as the two squads had been working together very closely on this. So hopefully, they can give one back and not run the player into the ground too much. And then next one in playing Tuesday night, Ilya Zabarny playing against Albania in Valencia in Spain. Also Tuesday, 8:45 p.m. Friendly game because Ukraine lost their qualifier for the World Cup. So we'll have to see. Zabarny is usually a starter, so he could be playing 90 minutes. I think the question for him will be not only the game time, but what kind of performance does he turn in after turning in a bit of a disaster class in the previous game, and then when he gets back to Paris. William Pacho will also be playing this Tuesday night. He's going to be playing in Eindhoven in the Netherlands, which is not that far from Paris conceivably against the Netherlands. Friendly game as well. But it is a big game for Ecuador, and Pacho is kind of an always-on starter, so I expect him to play this game. We'll follow up on what goes on and when he comes back. Kang-in Lee with South Korea is going to be playing in Wien against Austria, also this Tuesday night. Friendly game, yeah, maybe he gets a few less minutes, but I wouldn't count on it either. At least it's not really a top-tier opposition. But Austria, it's always a physical game, so we'll have to keep an eye out on these conditions. And then the last ones, and I think, up to Kang-in Lee, I think players that could pretty easily be pressed into service for the game against Toulouse on Friday. Now we're getting into player where I think it's far more unlikely. Ibrahim Mbaye playing with Senegal against Gambia in Senegal, so that's a long trip away from Paris. Tuesday night, so realistically he's not going to be back in Paris until late in the day on Wednesday, best case. So probably not in training on Wednesday, maybe on Thursday, that's the day before the game. Would he be playing? Definitely not starting with only one training session. Yeah, we'll have to monitor, but probably anytime by, so probably sits on the bench anyway. Then, and I think those are the ones which are really going to be a problem for us. The Portuguese team is playing against the US in Atlanta on Tuesday night US time, but so Wednesday 1 in the morning French time. And so time for them to play that game, to get back with the jet lag. I find it. They might sit on the bench for Toulouse, but even that I find relatively unlikely. And yeah, we're gonna have a real question mark in terms of how much can we push those 4 players with Liverpool right around the corner. What needs do we have? We know that players like Vitinha, for example, he's been a workhorse and he plays like basically every game and he recuperates very quickly. I think that's going to be a big question mark, and I don't expect. I mean, in a way, I don't expect those 4 players to feature in the game against Toulouse, but at the same time, I definitely wouldn't put it past Luis Enrique as well. But I know the squad will be like relatively careful with their physical and their fitness before making any decision. And finally, the last one is Marquinhos, with Brazil playing against Croatia, also in the US, in Orlando, Florida, in local US time, Tuesday night. French time, 2 a.m. on Wednesday. So same thing as the Portuguese players, but an hour worse. And so I find it pretty unlikely as well. At least he hasn't played the first game against the French team with the Brazil team. But yeah, like Carlo Ancelotti has hinted that he's back in fitness and could be starting in this game against Croatia. And we know that Luis Enrique typically like prefers to rest him anyway in Ligue 1 before Champions League game. So I expect Marquinhos won't feature for the game against Toulouse. And so speaking about this, let's talk about the game against Toulouse for a second. With all of those players in different places, different shapes, different sorts of schedules and ability to train, what kind of team could we field? So I think in goal, honestly, I think both goalkeepers are going to be available. I think Safonov gets the nod, and I think Safonov probably gets the start. In defense, I think Hernandez on the left, Beraldo in central defense, probably with Zabarni. Beraldo wasn't called up for international duty with Brazil. So he had a nice couple of weeks of rest, so he should be well ready to be playing in this game. Zabarni, I'm hoping he can get back quickly after the Ukraine game in Spain, and hopefully he doesn't play the full game. So that's something we'll have to keep an eye on. On the right, I'll say Hakimi, because even if he plays the full game with Morocco, he's playing only in Lens, which is really close to Paris. And we know Hakimi can play like every 3 days without any trouble. So wouldn't be surprised to see him feature. If not, far bet, but like maybe it's a chance to see TT, maybe Boli finally. Not sure, big bet, but yeah, like not entirely impossible. Not Warren Zaire-Emery though, because we'll need him in midfield, where without a Portuguese player, we're going to be tight. And I think, we can go in with a midfield of Warren Zaire-Emery, Kang-in Lee, and João Fernandes would be possible. Maybe a little bit light physically versus a team like Toulouse. So maybe Mayulu, depending on his physical condition, gets the nod. It's a bit of a question mark, I guess. Also a question mark, what kind of minutes can we give to Vitinha? What kind of minutes can we give to maybe Fabian Ruiz? I think there's a lot of uncertainties there, so we'll have to see what Luis Enrique can cook up. One thing is sure, it's going to be a very alternative-looking midfield. And then up front, that's probably where we've got the less trouble in the end, because like Gvara, Dembele, Doué, all of them are back early, all of them are fit to play, all of them should be starting. Dembele didn't play again in the second French game against Colombia. Doué only played 60 minutes. Gvara played 2 full games with his national team, but didn't have to travel to North America, which makes it a little bit easier. So yeah, I think all 3 of them could be starting with Mbaye, with potentially Kang-in Lee as well, ready to step in and sub them, and maybe Gonzalo Ramos as well, ready to come in if we need them during the Toulouse game. So this is what the PSG work week is going to look like. Crucially important, because beyond the Toulouse game on Friday, the game after that, it's going to be Liverpool. It's going to be next Wednesday. And so it is right around the corner. And so I think, I don't think the team is going to already be working for the Liverpool game, but getting them back together, getting them back at a normal fitness level, and getting them back into the PSG group and location and so on it's critical to setting ourselves up to be able to start working on Liverpool straight away after the Toulouse game. Toulouse game, it is important. It is a pretty solid mid-table team in Ligue 1. We need the win to make sure we capitalize on any missteps from Lens, who are going to be playing a tough derby in Lille. So important week for PSG. Hopefully your players come back to work as quickly as possible and physically fit to play in the coming games. And hopefully we get our injured player back. Let me know in the comment what kind of starting 11 do you see against Toulouse? What player do you think we're going to be missing that's going to be more annoying for us to deal with? And as always, if you made it this far, please drop a like on this video. All the PSG news in English on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel for more of the same. And don't forget, in the campus in Poissy, ici c'est Paris!